As Father Bobby just proclaimed in the gospel, we can hear in each gospel passage that we've heard in the past couple of weeks that we're building to what kind of is hard to believe, but we're on the cusp of Holy Week. And so I think it's a good time to, as we hear these readings, to think about the Paschal mystery, how Jesus passed from death to life for us, not just a theoretical principle, but in reality, he did that for us. And so for the baptized, it is a time to remember that through the sacrament of baptism, we too have entered into the life, the death, and the resurrection of Jesus. And we also share in the priesthood of Christ, in his prophetic and his royal mission. Before going to seminary, I could answer this question easily, but have you ever thought about what it means to share? When I say easily, it would have been, no, I hadn't thought about it, but here's the question. Have you ever thought about what it means to share in Jesus' prophetic and royal mission? As I said, maybe not in those words, but as baptized members of Christ's body, we are meant to serve as prophets, leading others to God, each according to his vocation or her vocation, and our abilities that God has given us. But in today's world, it's not hard to find ourselves the object of scorn if we choose to speak about our faith in certain venues, including online. The prophet Jeremiah offers a powerful witness to God's protection for these times. As we just heard in the first reading, he's under threat. The danger is imminent. He even says, all those who are my friends are on the watch for any misstep of mine. At times, it feels a lot like that, whether it be in our workplaces, civic meetings, schools, neighborhoods, etc., if we were to talk about faith. If you remember Jeremiah or any of the prophet's stories, it goes basically like this. They receive a message from God, instructing them to lead people away from sin and back to the goodness of virtue in doing God's will. But human nature being what it is, what happens? We don't want to hear it. We don't want to hear that we're doing something wrong. Even if 95% of what we're doing is good, we don't want to hear that 5%. And then sometimes, like the prophets, like Jeremiah, they're threatened. What are they threatened with? Well, loss of friends, reputation, livelihood, threats of physical harm, even imprisonment, or even death. And this is what led Jeremiah to have an internal crisis that was earlier in this chapter. He knew the right thing to do, but he was still worried about what would happen if he did it. And I think most of us have had this happen going way back to childhood. We know in our hearts and in our minds God's way. And we know that for some reason, he has chosen us to help others see it. And yet we still worry, what's going to happen if I have that conversation? My brothers and sisters, this is when faith, courage, and wisdom are needed. This is when we turn to God, or we wait, or we decide we can't do it at all. We've all been there. But what Jeremiah inspires us to do is this: to deliberately, in prayer and thoughtfully, do the right thing, not just for our souls, but for others, beginning in our homes. Jeremiah proclaims, despite all his worries, that the Lord is with him, like a mighty champion, and that his persecutors will stumble and will not triumph. Jeremiah does what each of us is called to do. And we can expect what the psalmist echoes, that the Lord hears our prayer, believing that God does test the just and that he does probe our minds and hearts. And we can expect that God will call upon us to be like Jeremiah. When it seems like a long shot, Just pray for God's guidance and protection. Trust Him, and He will be there for you. For God truly is our rock, our fortress, and our deliverer.